You're not going to believe the ride we had getting here. No, seriously, shut up for a second and listen because I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened to us out there. So we're standing on the curb, freezing our asses off, right? Snow's coming down sideways, and this Uber driver's been spinning in circles for 20 minutes, just going around the same 3 blocks like a confused beetle trapped under glass. Sarah's squeezing my hand with fingers that felt like they had too many joints, and I'm checking the app every 30 seconds, getting more pissed off by the minute. Finally, I said screw this and canceled the ride. The exact second, and I mean the exact microsecond, I hit that button, headlights just appear. Not like a car driving up from down the street, but like someone flipped a switch on the darkness itself. This black sedan materializes right at the curb. Engine so quiet, I wondered if it was even running. Door swings open by itself. No driver getting out. No hand reaching over from the front seat. Just this invitation into warm darkness. Sarah looks at me with this expression like, what else are we going to do? And honestly, what else were we going to do? So we climb in. The seats were warm. Not heated seat warm, but body warm, like we were settling into impressions left by passengers who had just stepped outside for air. The warmth was pulsing gently, like a slow heartbeat. And I swear I wondered if leather could remember the shape of bodies, if cars could dream about the people they carry. The door closes behind us with this sound like an exhale, like the car was sighing in relief. I tell the driver, White Hollow Ski Resort, but I'm talking to this headrest that's sitting perfectly upright like no one had ever leaned back against it. No acknowledgement, no nod, no adjustment of mirrors. The car just starts moving with this smooth certainty, like water flowing downhill. Sarah leans forward and says, "Excuse me, can you hear us up there?" But when I turned to look at her, her mouth wasn't moving. The words were coming from the car's speakers, even though the radio was off. I checked the rearview mirror and I can see our faces perfectly. Sarah's eyes wide with something that wasn't quite fear yet, me looking confused as hell, but the front seats were empty. Not just unoccupied. Empty in a way that suggested they had never been designed to hold a person at all. Sarah whispers, "Do you see anyone driving?" But it came out of my voice, and I couldn't answer because I'm watching the steering wheel turn itself in these small, precise movements, guided by hands that existed somewhere I couldn't see. The turn signal's clicking steadily, and I realize it's keeping time with my heartbeat. Or maybe my heart was keeping time with it. I couldn't tell which. That's when things really started getting weird. The trees outside began leaning inward as we passed, not bending in wind, but tilting with curiosity, their branches scraping against a sky that seemed too low. I was getting homesick for a place I'd never been, nostalgic for this moment, even as it was happening. Then Sarah points at the radio and says, "Listen, it's playing our conversation from 5 minutes ago." My voice saying, "This is ridiculous." Her voice responding with words she hadn't actually spoken. "Maybe we should walk. In this snow, we'd freeze." But I didn't remember having that conversation. Until suddenly I did, complete with the weight of decision and the taste of cold air. The memory felt worn, like something I'd replayed 1,000 times. Road signs started flashing by, letters rearranging themselves as we passed. First it said, "Welcome to White Hollow." Then the letters melted and reformed into Sarah's childhood home. Then shifted to beware of, but the last word blurred into illegibility, or maybe into a language you used to know but forgot. Sarah asks, "How long have we been driving?" I checked my watch, 10:47, the same time it showed when we got in. But my phone said 1:23 a.m. and the date was tomorrow. I said 3 hours, even though I meant 10 minutes. Both answers felt equally true. Sarah's reflection in the window started aging and growing younger with each streetlight we passed. Child, teenager, adult, elderly woman, infant, back to herself. She didn't notice, or maybe she was watching my reflection do the same thing. I don't know. I couldn't tell anymore where she ended and I began. We passed this house with hundreds of doors, but no windows. Each door was a different color. And somehow I knew that behind the red one was my childhood bedroom. Behind the blue one was Sarah's college dorm. Behind the black one was a room where we would grow old together if we ever made it that far. Sarah said, "I want to get out," but her voice was calm, like someone ordering coffee. I said, "We can't," though I hadn't tried the door handles. I knew they wouldn't work, not because they were locked, but because the concept of outside had become negotiable. There was this frozen lake beside the road, surface boiling with slow, lazy bubbles that burst in patterns that spelled out words I couldn't read, but understood completely. The words said something about staying warm, about never arriving, about how some journeys are meant to last forever. From a snowbank, this tall figure was waving at us with both arms, too enthusiastically, too long, like a mechanical toy stuck in motion. As we passed, I saw its face was the absence of a face, a perfect oval of winter air. Sarah waved back. I asked why she did that. She said she didn't, I did. I looked at my hand, and it was still raised, fingers spread in greeting. The car filled with this smell like burning sugar and childhood Christmas mornings and the inside of Sarah's coat pocket. We started having this conversation without speaking, not telepathy, but something more intimate. Our thoughts were sharing the same space, like two songs playing in harmony. We both knew we had to jump, when it slowed down. Finally, we see this sign, White Hollow, 2 miles. But as we passed beneath it, I read White Hollow, 2 miles behind you. In the rearview mirror, I watched it rotating slowly, like a weather vane following our movement. The resort's archway came into view, your warm light spilling from these windows, the promise of normalcy and hot chocolate and friends who would ask how our trip went. The car began to slow, or maybe time began to thicken around us. Sarah said, "Now," and we reached for the door handle together, for hands on the same piece of metal. The door opened not outward, but upward, and we fell into snow that felt like warm sand, like the back seat leather, like being caught by something that had been waiting to catch us. We rolled and came up running, but our footsteps sounded like windshield wipers against glass. Behind us, I heard the soft click of a door closing, but when I looked back, the car was gone. In its place stood this house I lived in when I was 7, warm light glowing in windows that looked exactly like headlights. We burst through those doors right there, and warm air hit us like a wall. You guys looked up from your drinks with these bright, welcoming faces, and Jay called out, "Dude, you made it." I opened my mouth to tell you all this, about the missing driver and the impossible mirrors and the way reality had folded in on itself like origami. But what came out was traffic wasn't too bad. Sarah squeezed my hand and said, "Smooth ride." Now I'm sitting here telling you the real story, and I can see you looking at me like I've lost my mind. But check this out. Look down at the puddles from the snow melting off our boots. You see the ceiling reflected in them? No. You see a view through a windshield showing trees that lean inward and a road that stretches toward somewhere we haven't reached yet. And listen. Just listen for a second. You hear that? That soft sound of an engine idling outside, patient and eternal, waiting for the next passengers who need a ride to wherever they think they're going. The thing is, I'm not entirely sure we ever got out of that car. Or maybe everyone gets a ride eventually. Maybe that's how all of us got here. Maybe that's how anyone gets anywhere. Sarah is still counting her fingers, making sure she has the right number. And I keep thinking about that house with all the doors, wondering which one we came through and which one we're supposed to go through next.